Do you want to do modern application development, but you're still on a mainframe? Well, Jim Dugan joins us on the Low Code Revolution to show us how we can do that with the Power Platform. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome to the Low Code Revolution. I'm your host, April Dunnam, and today we're joined by Jim Dugan, who's going to be talking about how we can leverage the Power Platform for mainframe modernization. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Hi, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, so happy to have you on. Can you tell everyone a little bit about what you do at Microsoft?
Sure. I'm part of a unique group within Azure Engineering and Azure Core Engineering that's pretty much underneath dedicated for specialized workloads, such as mainframe, mid-range, some older Unix variants like Solaris, etc., and helping make Azure the best place for landing those environments and migrating them over to Azure.
Very cool. Like this whole topic is really intriguing to me. Modernizing mainframe development with the Power Platform. We tend to often focus on, the cloud within and using that within that context, but we don't want to neglect that there's thousands of mainframes out there and used by finance and retail and insurance and all of that. So can you touch a little bit on exactly how this kind of works, how we would modernize mainframe development using tools like the Power Platform?
Yeah, sure. So the Power Platform, i.e. Power Apps, being low to no code is a great platform because if you take your existing logic that you have already invested in your mainframe, and typical mainframe is it's batch as well as transactions, like kicks transactions, etc. So in order to have low code or no code or Power Apps communicating with these applications, one of the areas is using web services. And so web services have made their way from being able to be accessed directly from the mainframe with IBM products like z/OS Connect, partner products from partners such as Micro Focus, CloudFrame, HostBridge, and probably about 25 to 30 others that allow you to expose those web services and even have the web service host running on the mainframe, running on a separate server. And by separate server, it could be something like a screen scraping of a transaction, and then allowing that screen scraping to be exposed as a web service. It can be direct, such as with IBM z/OS Connect, that it's running on the mainframe, also CloudFrame. It can also come by appliances, such as Luminex as an appliance, and there's several other customers that have these different solutions that now are exposing web services for application development. All I'm doing here is I am hooking up and using those web services with Power Apps.
Very cool. Yeah, that's the really cool thing about the Power Platform in general is if you can get your data, your service exposed via a web service, via a RESTful API, then the sky's the limit. You can integrate with it with the Power Platform pretty seamlessly through those custom connectors that we have and work across the stack, whether it's Power Apps or Power Automate or virtual agents or Power BI. So I really would love to see you. I think you have a use case of how this interaction actually works inside of Power Apps. Could you show us how it works?
Sure. Here's an example application that I used. We have an example bank application called Woodgrove Bank. And in Woodgrove Bank, in this case, I'm using one of the partner solutions. And I have different users that are coming and using the application. So this example application, the form factor is in this form factor. So it could be used on the phone, it could also be used by a PC as well, or Mac. And the key thing that's here, as I'll show you, is as I click on it, you see that I'm just doing a web service call, say get customers. And so with get customers, it's when I open up the window, it pulls a long list of the customers that are available. And how I'm doing that is I created a custom connector, and here's the custom connector. And with a lot of these web service tools, and especially on the mainframe side, is you can export the connection string or the connection data, meaning that you can go through. One of the greatest things on Power Apps is the ability to custom define the definition yourself, or you can actually use a Swagger file or open API call that you can import into Power Apps and the connector. And so this is pretty much the custom connector. I've run this before, but let me go ahead and run it again. You'll see that I'm getting, I've done a call out to this particular web service host, which is get customers, and it lists all my customers that have come across. So that particular web service goes out to a mainframe Kix transaction. And so I can also do other Kix transactions, which I'll show you. I'll go ahead and get the accounts for Abby. And you can see that this is what her checking account balance is. This was several different mainframe transactions where get the customers accounts, also get the customer's balance for the particular account that I chose. And the other spectrum of the mainframe side is something called batch. I can make sense for doing your Kix transactions because a web service is a transaction, but you can also use web services to kick off batch items. In this case, I'm adding $1 to every customer. And so I'll add $1 to every customer. You'll see that the batch says it's completed. I'll go back here and I'll look at get accounts. And remember, these are transactions that are being done on the mainframe. And you can see that it added $1 to the individual user's account that is actually being stored on the mainframe, and the transaction has completed. The key thing here is also that it is easy for Power Apps to communicate with web servers. Not a lot of people have put together, it's like, okay, you can take web services and hook them up to transactions on the mainframe, to databases that are on the mainframe, to batch that's on the mainframe. And so it actually ends up, it's not very difficult. I did this entire Power Apps application in half an hour, or
Wow.
probably even less than that. It's amazing how quickly you can do things in Power Apps. One of the other items is that I have as part of this demonstration is this calculate loan. And so this is also part of the Power Apps I'll show you is calculate loan. And it's another thing that banks do, which is loan amortization. And in this particular scenario is, let's say you're a bank and you have loan amortization capability on your mainframe. There's a cost per transaction. You do one transaction on your mainframe, it's a nickel. This was against our particular mainframe that we have in Redmond, that we took all the costs and we said, okay, this is how much compute it took, and et cetera. So it's a complete yes, but let's say it's a nickel. We've taken that same solution and we've moved it off the mainframe and put it into a virtual machine environment. And that's where the Azure VM. and the same transaction costs about half a penny per transaction. I've also taken the capability and added it, the loan amortization capability, took it from the mainframe and the virtual machine and moved it over to a serverless function within Azure. And so you can see that the cost, as I add transactions, or even hundreds of thousands of transactions, the cost keeps going up on the mainframe and the virtual machine, but it's not going up on cloud native. The reason for that is with cloud native or serverless functions in Azure is you don't start, your first million transactions are free. Your next million transactions are 20 cents. Well, at 1,000,003 transactions, I've already spent upwards of $50,000 in compute on the mainframe, 5,000 on a virtual machine, and only 20 cents on the cloud native capability. It's also a great way to demonstrate via a Power App how you can actually save money with moving things over to into cloud native.
Yeah, that's amazing. How much money you can save there. I haven't done a lot of mainframe dev myself, but yeah, that cost savings is amazing. Now, of course, you have Power Apps licensing, using custom connectors on top of it, but little bit different model there. So really amazing how basically if we can get anything inside of a web service like that we can call, how easy it is. As you said, in 30 minutes you can get an app up and going, connecting to your mainframe there. Very great solution. Thanks so much for showing that.
Sure. One thing I would point out is as you're doing the web services, one other item that you probably want to include is Azure API management to make sure that as you're, let's say, if you move your web service from the mainframe to cloud native, nothing on your Power App needs to change if you use API management. And there's tons of reasons to use API management, but that by itself is a great thing because you don't have to change your application.
For sure. I'm a huge proponent of using API management if you want to connect your APIs to the Power Platform. By far the most seamless experience. Not only that, there's a Power Platform button right in Azure API management. You just click that. It creates the connector for you too. You don't have to do anything else, which is super convenient. And also, if you're using Dataverse for Teams to create solutions, Power Platform-based solutions in the context of Teams, you can leverage those API management connectors, including in that license. So that's another big benefit of it as well. So lots of reasons to use API management. I'm a big fan of that. So I'd love to know, for people that are kind of watching this and maybe they're using mainframes and their work and they're wanting to see how they can kind of modernize that, do you have any other resources or places that people can go to learn more about how to start?
Sure. First one would be aka.ms/refarch, ARCH. And that's for my team publishes out a lot of reference architectures and they're related back to the mainframe. The second one is you can email my team directly, and this is, I'm a member, there's 12 of us right now, and that is legacy, the number 2, Azure@Microsoft.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you again so much, Jim, for coming on the show and showing us this. Really cool, just all the ways that we're able to leverage the Power Platform to modernize our solutions. So thank you again so much, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Low Code Revolution.